Hello, friends. Welcome to Experience Data Talk, a show featuring data science leaders and technologists from around the world. My name is Mike Delgado, and this is episode number 127. Today, we're chatting with Jennie Ibrahim, who serves as senior software designer at Google and chair of the board for Project Scientist. Jennie holds a master's degree in computer science from Northeastern University and frequently lectures on topics ranging from Java and Angular Dart to team dynamics and building professional networks. We talk with her today about her passion for computer science, ways she's navigated her career, her work to empower girls to pursue careers in STEM. We chat with her about her volunteer efforts and also get some advice from her around networking and how to improve our communication skills. Here's our conversation. Jennie, welcome to Data Talk.
Thank you for having me.
So Jennie, tell me a little bit about your background and how you ended up pursuing both an undergraduate degree and graduate degree in computer science.
When I was filling out my college application, I asked my dad, what do you think I should put on this where it says major? And he said, what's your favorite subject? I said, math. He said, so do you want to be a math teacher? And I said, no, I like kids too much to hate them by the end of the week. So let's not go with that. And he said, so what about computers? And I said, no, I don't know enough about it. And when my brother and his friends talk about computers, it just goes over my head. So I said, no, that I wouldn't be able to do that. And he said, but that's what you go to school for. You go to school and learn. And I was like, okay, simple. I'll do that. And I did it and I loved it. And so that's how I got into it. And then I went to Northeastern where they do a co-op education program. So instead of a 4-year college, it's a 5-year college.
Oh.
But after your first year, you do 3 months. Back then it was quarter system. It was 3 months school, 6 months work, 3 months work, 6 months school. So you go back and forth.
Oh, that's a very unique program.
Yeah, I loved it. And the co-op education program, they kept bothering us to have to write our resume over and over every 3 to 6 months. And so we hated it back then. This is the best thing ever. I still have one of the resumes that they marked up. I still have it somewhere in the house, which is funny. But it was incredible. By the time I was done, I was like, this is amazing. I could look at anybody's resume and critique it. And I knew exactly what should be on a resume. By the time I was done, I had 3 years of experience, which encouraged me when I was going to school to be like, oh, wait, I need to use this somewhere. This is important. So it made me study harder. And when I went to work, I was like, oh, I should know about this. And so when I go back to school, I was encouraged to study more about it. So it was an incredible program.
That's fantastic. I don't know of very many college programs that do that, where they're pushing you into the work field to get that experience and then come back to school.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was basically an internship. And so whoever, I encourage everybody to do an internship that's related to your work.
What were some things that you learned early on through that experience? Because a lot of times, a lot of us, you go through school and a lot of, you're working a part-time job to pay the bills, but you're not getting your true real job right till you graduate. But it's so cool that you got these opportunities to kind of have these internships sporadically. And what did those things teach you along the way?
To try things out. I was very nervous. The first job that I had, they said, oh yeah, you're in charge of our intranet. So for the whole company,
wow,
using things that everybody could see. And they treated me like an employee, regular, like everybody else. And I was like, this is so cool. I don't know what they're talking about when people say get their coffee or whatever. I was changing things and I was completely nervous to touch anything or break anything or all of that. But I just tried that, you can try, you can fail, and then you fix it and you move on. And so I feel like I got that way ahead of everybody else who's gonna do that. So that was good. I learned networking was super important. I During my internships, I was about to go back to the company that I was with, and I got laid off. My boss was laid off, and
Mhm.
like the CEO left. Like half the company basically was laid off, and so somebody from that company said, "Oh, you should meet my friend." And so he introduced me to somebody who got me the job that I had for like 6 years after that.
Oh, wow. What were
And yeah,
wow. What did it feel like? Because getting laid off can be very, very difficult. It can make you question yourself, question your career path, sometimes even question your value. How did that feel so early on in your career? Like you're just kind of getting started and then having to deal with that.
it was during the dot-com bubble burst. And so I think I was a little naive. I didn't really like it didn't matter to me. I was still going to school. I still had like I wasn't too worried. I was about to go on vacation for a week. So I went, spent time with my cousins in Canada, enjoyed it. And at the back of my mind, I was like, God's got this under control. I'm not gonna worry about it. But through all of that, I kept thinking, like, ooh, it's hard for the people who have like 4 kids and got laid off in my country. But the value of networking was huge. Um, I also at that time, the friend that he told me about worked in the Department of Defense,
Oh,
and I was like, wait, like, should I apply? Should I not apply? And my dad said, go and like see what comes out of it. Like if God opens a door, you don't like close it. So just
mhm.
go for it. And so during my vacation, I had went to the CN Tower, which was way up high. I went to the whatever the lake that they have in Canada. It was beautiful, and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh, it'd be nice if the next job that I had, I could work in a high place that could see over water. Maybe like that would be cool." I went to the interview and it was like I see a lake right next to it, and I was like,
oh.
"This is nice." I go for the interview in the basement of the place.
Oh, really?
So I worked in a basement for a long time in Boston, and so there it was um, the they would call us and be like, "There's a snowstorm, you need to leave." Like,
Oh,
it, and we just didn't have windows. We didn't have
you had no idea.
yeah. But it was one of the best jobs that I had. They gave me so much. They trusted me a lot. They had me hire people. They
Mm.
had me interview people. I was completely nervous hiring anybody, but it taught me how to interview, what to look for, all that kind of stuff. So
Hmm. Well, I think it's so cool. I mean, I want to talk to you about networking and building relationships because that was key here. But
yeah,
obviously, you impressed people that you work with through these internships, that they saw something in you that um, that's what made these opportunities happen. It wasn't just your network; they saw things in you. And I'm kind of curious about in these initial internships, in these initial roles, what were some things that you were doing that helped you get recognized and also helped you to build great relationships?
it, I think the one thing that I did that I didn't even realize I was doing, it was just natural to me, is I wasn't in software to write the software or whatever. I was there to help people. So I got to meet people from other departments. And when they would say, it's taking me forever to do this, all I could think of is, how do I help them? Because they're my friend. And like, how do I make life easier for them?
Hmm.
So I feel like putting the user first, thinking about the user first was something that when people said, "Oh, she helped me in my department. How do I help her?"
Hmm.
But I think it made the software better. It was probably very stinky software that I wrote back then, but I feel like it got the job done. So even though if I look back at the code, it was probably awful, but it got people to make their jobs faster. And so it mattered to them.
I love that you became a resource. I think find that sometimes it's easy for us to stay in our own department and just work with those around us. And sometimes we work on very small teams and you're just interacting with 4 or 5 people. But I love the fact that you were kind of branching out, meeting other people, and then looking for ways to help others. How did you kind of navigate that at work to begin to kind of extend your network and find ways to help others?
I'm curious and I like talking to people. I feel like everybody's got an amazing story and you just have to find it. So when I'm meeting people on the elevator, I say hi. I ask what they're doing. And especially at Google, where I'm working now, there's so many people to meet and so exciting, so many exciting things. One of the people that I met, it was his first day. He had balloons next to his desk, so I went over, said hi, welcomed him, and I asked, "What were you doing before Google?" He said he did for almost his whole last year. He was doing optimization for some web application. So I was like, "Oh, that's nice." So when I went to the training group that I was in, when they said, "Oh, we need somebody new to give an optimization of websites," and I was like, "Whoa, wait, I know that." And so I introduced them to each other,
Uh,
and I said, "Come." So that kind of thing, I feel like it's the funnest thing to do. I don't network to get something out of it.
yeah.
Who can I connect with who that would
Mm.
benefit both people? And just figuring out what's exciting about people.
That is so cool. What advice do you have for those who maybe feel a little bit more introverted? It's a little bit more difficult for them to just do that. What advice do you have for those who want to improve their network? They want to be more helpful, but sometimes it's hard to kind of get out of their shell.
One thing is look people in the eye when you're walking past them. One thing that I notice a lot of people do is kind of look down or just don't make eye contact. The first thing is make eye contact. Second thing is say hi. If you know the person's name, say their name. Hi, whoever. Um, those are just the beginnings of anything. And then when you're waiting in the salad bar, when you're waiting for coffee, waiting for anything, that's a moment to get to know the person next to you. Um, if you're sitting and having lunch, sit with somebody. Say, "Hey, do you mind if I just sit here?" And if they're open to conversation, strike up a conversation and see what they're interested in. Talk about what is interesting to them and ask what their day is like. Ask what's happening in their life, what's exciting that they're doing at work, or anything like that that helps people talk about themselves.
What keeps you energized at work?
I think the people around me, especially with COVID happening and all of that, it's getting to see the people at work, interacting with them, getting to know their lives better, I feel like is huge for me. Another thing is creating things. That's what, like, coming up with something new, coming up with something that helps somebody. Those are the things that get
Hmm.
me excited about it.
How is it being extroverted and right now during COVID needing to be kind of isolated at home and not able to be with your coworkers?
I'm actually okay with that. I'm loving being with my kids at home. If I was home alone, I think it would be completely different. It would suck the life out of me. I would not be happy. But I've got my husband and my kids, and I feel like it's such a good time to be with them. And so they're my new coworkers. So I'm loving pouring into them.
Yeah,
Uh, the hugs in the middle of the day.
yeah. I was talking to my mom by phone, and she was like, "Hey, Mike," she's like, "Just enjoy this time. Like, this is going to be a time in your life where you get a chance to be home with your family. It's not always going to be like this. So just enjoy it, embrace it." And I was like, "Yeah, it's so true."
I from the first week, I was like, really? Like we're But it hasn't been easy, but it's definitely um, been a joy to be here and take advantage of this.
Yeah, I found it took me um, about 3 weeks to kind of settle in because I think just getting the right technology in place. Because when I first went home, I just had my laptop. And at work, I had like the standing desk and I have like several monitors and everything that I need. And I didn't have that. So I'm at this kitchen table with my little laptop and everything took like for me like 5 times as long I felt.
Yeah, but also having kids at home
Yeah.
is very hard.
Yes.
So, but Google has been so generous with just taking care of us, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, and all kinds of things like that. I feel like they've set us up with the right equipment. They kind of did all of that,
Mm.
and they completely understand about having kids in the house that you actually have to like homeschool and help with homework and all of that. So
How are you managing that part? Because I find that it's hard. I have two little ones, and when I would be out at work, I'm away from home, and now that I'm home, sometimes it's a struggle because my kids want to be with me, they want to talk to me,
yeah,
and right now it's like I have to go. I'm actually in my son's bedroom, doors locked, right? and but the moment I step outside to, go to the kitchen or something like that, my daughter is there, and sometimes it's hard for me to just go like, "Daddy's got to go back to work."
yep. Yep, it was very hard. We tried different systems and all that. None of it worked except for coming upstairs, moving my stuff into my daughter's bedroom, and that's where I work most of the time. So I set aside time in the morning for them, and so we sit do homework for a long time, and then I try to finish all of that so that they're not asking me about homework or whatever, because that's where I feel like no, I need to help them to get them to the next level because I need them to like finish the homework by the end of the day, and so I set aside time for that, and then I have a break and then do work. And so hopefully that it's been working better, but being downstairs with the kids is just too much. So if you have two working parents, you need to have like dedicated time away from the kids and then dedicated time with the kids.
When you're at the office, because you're extroverted, you're kind of, you get a chance to see people in the hallway and the kitchen, and you're kind of just, you get to enjoy that as an extrovert. And now that you're home, you don't get that physical interaction. I'm wondering how you're trying to replicate that maybe through instant messaging, video calls.
So at work we do lots of video calls, so I love that. Except some of the people in my team, they've got their own lives, and not everybody turns their video on.
Yeah, right.
I've, I've had to ask, can you please, if it's possible, like I know everybody's got their situation, but if you can, turn your video on. I need to see people.
Yeah.
Like when I'm talking to you, I say something in the meeting and I'm looking for a reaction, and when there's no reaction and nobody unmutes, I have no idea what you're thinking. So that kind of stuff, I've had to verbalize what I need or what I want, and so people have been gracious in that. And then something that my team just thought of this week, they said, "Can we just have a meeting room where anybody who just wants to chat or be there can go to that room?" So we started that up, and we'll see how it goes.
Oh, like a kind of like a video chat open room that's just available.
So whoever wants to go can go hang out.
Oh, I love that. I think that's great. I'm definitely like you, Jenny. I enjoy seeing people, and so and thankfully my boss is the same way. So whenever I chat with him, we FaceTime every day, and I look forward to seeing him. But I realize too that there's a lot of people who don't like being on
Yeah,
video because it can. There's that whole like the Zoom fatigue syndrome, right?
yes,
People feel drained from being on a video chat. Um, but and that's so hard because like I want to see people, but not everyone wants to be on video.
yes, yeah. So you find the people that you want to video with, and you video to satisfy yourself, and then you move on. But yeah, the things like chat. having a chat room where you can chat with anybody in your team, that's also a good thing, especially like team focused chat rooms are good too. We use that all the time.
I want to go back to where we were with your career history. So you get this awesome opportunity to work on projects for the Department of Defense. Like that is super, super cool. What was that like for you?
I liked it. It was nice. There were lots of things that were exciting, and you go in and you're like, "Wow, this big thing that I'm working on," or things like that. It's very exciting. You get a security clearance. They check your background. Like, you feel important,
Oh.
and then the work is work. Like, you do normal things, and especially in that area, you work on very small things. You don't see the big picture. And so sometimes you're like, it's not very significant what I'm doing, even though it is.
Hmm.
You're not seeing the big picture, and I love seeing the big picture and then drilling down to my part and knowing that it's important to help whoever to do this. I kind of need to see that big picture to see why it's helping somebody, what the impact is going to be, all that kind of stuff, to kind of feel like I know what I'm doing and that I can make those little decisions that you always make day to day better because I can see the big picture. So it was fine. It was a little hard when we would want to move on to the next version of like Java, and they'd be like, no, things are this way, and we can't change things on our customers, and so you can't make changes, which is super hard. And then I went from that, like, people were on like 2, 3 versions ahead in Java, and we were like stuck back there. I go to Google, that's my next job after that, and it's like, you're on the bleeding edge. Nobody's ever tried this before. You're trying it, that kind of thing. So it's interesting having those two dynamics. And then the things in the security world where you're like, I can't talk about anything here, but nobody really cares to know what I know. And then the other side, which is like everybody knows about Google, so everything you say you actually have to keep a secret, and nobody like, and people care. And so you're working at Google and keeping the secrets there, like the self-driving car. We know that it like years before, and I don't say anything. And when things come out in the news, my husband's like, "Did you know Google's doing this?" And I'm like, "Hold on, I can't
Yeah.
deny anything until I check. Has Google said this? Okay, if Google said, oh yeah, this happened." So, yeah.
You mentioned that early on you were interviewing people for teams, and you got thrown into that. And I'm kind of curious about how your interviewing process has evolved from where you used to work with projects on the Department of Defense, and now with Google. How has your interviewing style evolved?
So I had no idea when I went in. I prayed a lot. Like, there was one day I had 2 resumes, and I was like, they look identical to me. Like,
Mm.
the same experience. I poured over those 2 resumes for that whole day. Went in the next day, and I'm like, God, show me a difference between them because I can't see a difference. And then it was night and day. The how they cared about the job, how they expressed interest in the company or did not. And so from that was my first interviews with anybody. I depended a lot on God on that. Um, Now it's the same thing. I'm still like, show me what do I like the difference between the different candidates. I went to a company where they never interviewed, like for software engineers, they never interviewed by asking to write code. And at that point, I was like, how do I know? Like,
Mm.
they could be just talking it up without me knowing the difference. And so I started that. I started saying, well, maybe we should interview, and this is what I asked them to do, and they didn't do it at all, or they did great in this. And so that I started that in one of the companies, and they were like, that's a great idea. We should do that. But at Google, they do that to the max, where we don't even ask, like, what did you do in your last company? And we kind of throw some of that out before saying, do this problem.
Yeah.
And so I brought some of that to Google too, so that I asked about the person, how their day was before diving into all the questions. But now with like more than 100 something, 150 interviews that I just did at Google in the last 10 years, I feel like it's a lot easier to figure it out when you have a rubrics of like, what are we looking for? What are the things that say, yes, they've got this or they don't have it? I feel like now I have a process of make sure they can take a problem, figure out what they do with that problem, come up with a solution that they talk through, and then can they take that solution that they've come up with and get that into code. So if they can do all of that, then I feel like, okay, you're solid. That's kind of where I come. It's kind of become more solidified as time goes on.
Are there any like common challenges or struggles people have when they're communicating? Like you ask a specific question about a problem, and you want to kind of see their thought process. Are there common like hangups or things you see people struggle with?
Some of the times they just don't say a thing and then think, and then come up with the solution. Like, and start writing code. When I see somebody go from think, writing code, I have no idea what their thought process is. So I can't even, when I'm writing up the, my recommendations and my feedback, if I don't know what you're thinking, I can't help you. I can't even say they were on the right track, but then this is where they got hung up. I can't do that. So show your work, kind of, is the advice that I would give. Not asking questions, not saying what their assumptions are. Those are things that are important that you should do. If you're, some people don't practice on writing on whiteboards or even writing on paper. Writing code on an IDE is completely different than actually writing and writing out things. So try that out. See how that feels before you actually enter a company where they make you do it on a whiteboard.
I only have a little bit of experience. When I was an undergrad, I took a Visual Basic C++ class, and all of our tests were handwritten. And so I made the big mistake of like all of my homework and everything, of course, was done on the computer. So when I wrote poor code, I would see the error, right, and run it, see the error and fix it. And all my practice was that way. And then, but all my quizzes and tests were all like handwritten. And I still remember being horrified on my final exam, getting some really big questions and being like, oh man, I don't even have my computer to like spot check this.
Yes.
I struggled really, really hard.
Yep. And another thing that people do because they don't think through the process and they don't practice all of it. I feel like they don't realize that if they failed and did not get the job, they can actually apply again after some time. I had no idea. So when I first interviewed for Google, I was completely rusty. I didn't practice. I didn't do that prep work that I should have done. I was doing more TL work, so I wasn't actually coding as much. So I was completely rusty. And the whole interview at Google is coding, at least for software engineers. And so I failed it, completely failed it. So 2 years later, a friend of mine said, hey, you should apply to Google. And I was like, no, they didn't want me. They wouldn't want me again. And you should never apply to a place that has said no to you. That's what I thought. Complete misconception, you should apply again. Because you've learned stuff, you've changed over those years. And through those 2 years, I had coded like 8 to 5 every day. So second time I applied, I was like, they wouldn't want me. So I walked into the interview so calm and relaxed because I had nothing to lose. They didn't want me. Like emotions, I must have like slipped through the cracks or something that they didn't see that I had interviewed with them before. and then I got the job. So lots of people at Google, I didn't realize this at first, have not gotten into Google the first time. And so apply again.
I mean, just to get called in for an interview is huge at Google.
Yeah, yeah. But if you have a referral, it helps slightly. Um, but still, yeah, it's huge, but it gets done. But then you get discouraged when you don't get it. You're like, but I thought
So now, how long have you been at Google now?
10 years.
10 years.
But
What have been some things you really enjoyed about working there?
I love the people. Everybody is so smart, and it's incredible the amount of uh, the person who wrote the book on Java, the person who wrote the book on Angular, Dart, whatever, is there most likely, and you can ping them and you can email them and they'll respond. And it's completely strange that how open the people are talking to you. I've emailed the person who's right under Sundar. I've emailed, like, you can, networking wise, you can network with anybody you want. Somebody who just walked into our office worked on self-driving cars, and he, I invited him for lunch with our team, and I had just met him, and he got to tell us all about self-driving cars. Another thing that I love is the code. Code is shared. And so if there's something that Google Docs does or Gmail does, I can kind of grab it for my project. It's incredible that you can do that. Yeah. In other companies, even if you were working on the same type of project, nobody shares anything. And so you're siloed into your whatever could be doing the same exact stuff, and nobody will share with each other, even if you know that they're doing the same thing. I love that at Google.
That's awesome.
The perks are amazing too. I had 3 maternity leaves at Google. It's incredible. The men take paternity leave just as much as the women do, and because everybody takes it, I don't feel guilty taking my maternity leave because I know my coworkers are, and so that is huge. So managers, if you're listening, take leave so that the people under you feel comfortable enough to take the leave too.
That's such good advice. Like, I was really happy that my boss just took a mental health day, and like when he sent that note out, I was like, I felt very empowered. Like, that's so cool that he's modeling that.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah, one of the people, I think it's my boss's boss took a week off to be with his kids during COVID.
Yeah.
That made me feel like, okay, like he understands we have lives to live, and
that's right.
They're important, and raising our kids is also important.
Yeah, I want to ask you about. I love you can just communicate with anybody, and networking is really big at Google. And you're an extrovert, so you have, like, I'm sure over the last 10 years, just continued to build more and more relationships. How are you able to kind of keep nurturing all these various relationships as you've met so many people over the years?
I'm horrible at it. Making the first connections and connecting people to things that they care, but I'm horrible at the long-term stuff. But if I put people's birthdays on calendars, and so at birthdays, I try to ping people and wish them a happy birthday. If I see that they've gotten promoted, I reach out and I say, congrats, like, this is great.
Yeah.
So those little things, I keep up with LinkedIn some and encourage people that way when I see. So I just try it in the little bits that I can, because I do have a family and I do have a full-time job, and so all of that, I can't be in every place at the same time. And so I have to not prioritize, because you never know who the next exciting person you're going to meet is. And you never know what wealth of knowledge and networking capability each person has. So I would never, like, saying hi to the person who's washing the dishes at work is just as important as saying hi to that big shot person who comes in.
And I love the fact that you're like a connector. Like you're like, how can I help this person? Like I should connect that person with this person.
Yeah. It comes naturally to me. I feel like it's my strong suit, and I never and like, I'm not very good at keeping those relationships strong for myself. And so if I can help in any way connect somebody, that's 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 where I'm happy. Because then if they meet the person who they can build a relationship with and keep that relationship going, then great, they've got that.
I'm curious about how you are mentoring your team and how you're kind of helping them kind of improve their own leadership, their own communication and networking.
There's lots of people that I mentor, so there's different ways that I mentor different people. Uh, Encouraging people to network with others, it's a lot easier when you connect them to a group because then they can, if they connect with that group, then they'll keep that relationship going. So a lot of the times when I have a job that I need to get done, and eventually I feel like, okay, I'm done doing this thing. I don't just say I'm done. Somebody else can do this job. I try to have somebody, especially during the times where I'm like, I can't spend a lot of time on this one thing. I try to find somebody who this would be a stretch goal for, and they might be interested in doing this thing. I have them do it with me, like giving a talk or something like that. I try to get somebody to do it with me. Maybe I don't have time to put the whole talk together, so I give them parts of it. They might not feel comfortable enough presenting. I'm fine with that. I've done this before, so I let them come up with the slides maybe. It's less work on me because they're coming up with the slides. I check it over, the feedback, we practice together, and then we do it together. Next time, I don't have to do that presentation anymore. Somebody else can do it. That person is now capable of doing it. I feel like with people who are nervous about doing things, this is a great place. I feel like a lot of women sometimes don't have that confidence. They feel like they need to know it 100% before they do it.
Mm.
This is a place where, oh, I'll do it with you. It's not a big deal. We'll do it together. And then once they've done it once, you're like, see, it wasn't so bad. You can do it now. And I've done that a few times, and it's been fun empowering somebody else to do it and then kind of pulling myself out and doing something else.
I think that's a beautiful way to teach. Like you're just bringing them alongside you as you're doing something, having them work on something um, together, and then you're just kind of bringing them along. And that example of like preparing for a presentation where somebody feels scared, like I could never go on stage and talk about this, and you're like, no, no, you're going to come do this with me. We're going to work on this together, and it's not going to be so bad because we're going to do it together. I
Yeah,
think that's a great way to model that.
it's less work on me eventually. So this is kind of my time management. I empower somebody else and then let them run with it, and then I don't have to do it. So it works both ways.
Tell me about Project Scientist. How did you get involved? Because now you're the chair of the board, and I'm just kind of curious. Like, tell me how that all
Yeah.
happened.
So first time that I met them, I was having lunch. They had sent an email. So somebody at work sent an email saying there's this group of girls who are coming 4 years of age to 12 years old, and if you'd like to come give a talk, be on a panel, something like that. And I didn't have time for any of that. And they said, and there's also lunch if you'd like to come and have lunch. So I'm like, I'm having lunch. Let me have it with them. So I grab my lunch, sit with them, and I'm blown away by the questions they're asking, by what things they're about to do the next week. They're talking about like going to visit. I think it was an aerospace company next, and they were going to go see stuff. And I was like, "This is fun. What is this thing?" And so I met Sandy Marshall. She's the co-founder and the CEO of Project Scientist, and she said, "Oh, I'd love to reach out to the women's group," and I was leading that, so I said, "Sure, yeah, yeah." And I don't think I reached out to her after that. And then she somehow got my name again, and uh, yeah, I don't think we exchanged information that first time. And then she said, "Oh, I'd like to come and I'd like to talk to that person that I met." And so eventually we figured out it was me, and we had a meeting with her. She explained about how they try to get girls into STEM because there aren't that many women in STEM. My college class, we were like four women in like a big.
Wow.
Yeah, it was probably like 10%.
Really?
Women. And now it's up to like 40 or 50, which is great. Or I don't know, something better. But so now in the workforce, it's similar. It's not that many women in at least computer science, and so she is trying to get girls into STEM. And when I heard that 40% of the girls that attend are on scholarship, they can't afford to be there. They can't afford to have a high quality STEM education, especially in the summer. So this is the summer program. It's a 6 week program, 6 week program in the mornings, and it's usually held on college campuses. Now with COVID, not so much. Um, but the girls go. First thing that they see is a woman like me in science, technology, engineering, and math, and they get to hear that she does for a living. And then they have hands-on education, like science experiments, coding, whatever it is. And then at the end of one day during the week, and the whole week is a theme. So one week it's the theme of innovation and doing science for good, or things like that. So there's themed weeks every week for the summer. And during that week, they go to some company like Google, and they meet with people like me, and they get to hear about what they do. They get a tour of the place. They
Wow.
do some hands-on something that's related to that field, and then there's so many things like that. Where at the end of the time, they do a declaration where each of the girls goes up, which is very good for presentation skills. But they all go up and they say, one day I would like to be, when I grow up, I want to be a whatever. And so they think about that throughout the whole time that they're in camp. They think about that.
Mm.
What am I going to do with my life? And so, and I saw them doing the declarations at the end of the week, and not one single girl went up there scared of saying what she wants to do. They all are naturally going up there. I've never seen any, I've just been so impressed with the curriculum that they have. And so from when I heard that 40% of the girls go um, care about STEM, are on scholarship, I was like, okay, I'm so excited. How can I help? What do you guys need done? And at one point they said, so this was like a year later, probably from when I first met them, I got on the board, and I'd never been on a board before. And I was like, what do I have to offer to like, and the people, when she was explaining who's on the board, I was like, yeah, I don't know. It's not me. I think she in the room, she said something like, so we have VPs of companies, we have whatever, we have an astrophysicist, we have a, and I was like, and he says to us, do you know anybody like that? And I was like, no. But at the same time, I was like, I'd love to learn, like, I'd love to know how I can help. And so I joined the board, and the whole time I'm like, who, like, I don't deserve to be around these people, just, but I brought passion. I brought just the things that I've done at work, how to conduct a meeting, how to do design sprints, the way that they do them at Google, I loved. And I was like, we should do this for our board retreat. And so I suggested it and we did it for our board retreat.
Mm.
So when they said, would you like to be the chair? I was like, I talked to my brother. I'm like, do I qualify? And even before that, when I was like, what do you think? He's like, yeah, you can do this. And I'm like, okay, but I know nothing about finance. I don't know. He was like, nope, you go and you do it and you figure out as you go along. And so being the chair, I've learned to conduct meetings. I've learned to do Robert's Rules of Order. I've learned like, and I'm learning it because I'm like floundering in it. But I'm telling people, this is what I'm learning. Here, listen to this podcast. Do this. And so I'm educating the board as I'm learning it myself. So I feel like I'm bringing value, even though I'm not feeling the most confident in it. But it's been fun trying to get people motivated to invite people. Like fundraising is a big thing. And I'd never done fundraising. And my family has always been of the mindset of you don't ask people for money. It's not what we do. And so I've been like, what do I do with fundraising? I can't do this naturally. But even before I joined the board, I at Google we have a week where we promote exciting nonprofits that we know about and we give to. And so when that week came, I was like, oh, Project Scientist. Like, this is an incredible thing. People should know about it. And when my friend had done something similar with Bloodwater Mission, a nonprofit, too, she just explained about it and she said, this is all the research I've done and this is why they're so amazing and why I give to them. And I love that she introduced me to them because I was like, oh, I can give to them now. Like, I know who they are, I know why she likes it, and I trust her. And so because of that, I'm going to give to them. And so I felt like, well, everybody should know about Project Scientist. So I introduced everybody at work to them. We raised some money. And so it was grassroots, but that's how I do my fundraising. I'm not a CEO, so I'm not going to go to another CEO and say, hey, like, donate here or whatever. I don't know how they do that stuff. But I've been excited to just tell people about it because it's an incredible program.
Yeah, that is fantastic. So I think it's amazing that you are doing all this work and helping to raise up this next generation to be inspired to pursue STEM. Are you? Does your organization look for other women leaders, other women in STEM to help at these events?
Yes, definitely. So the STEM superstars, that's what we call them. We need them to be able to have the girls see somebody like them, to be able to see themselves in their shoes, to see, oh, that's what I can become. Okay, great. And then they can kind of follow suit and learn about all the different careers because everybody has a story and everybody's careers are different. I remember having one person come and I was like, could you read this superstar? And she's like, I don't have anything exciting to talk about. And I asked her what she did, and I was like, I didn't even know that, like, I didn't know this was a job. And so when she explained it to me, I'm like, just say what you told me. Like, the girls would love to hear this. And so she talked about how she got into it, how she had, she was in her grandfather's rural village, and the radio that she loved hearing was broken, and so she had to fix it because she was like, I can't wait another 2 weeks till we go to the big city, and so she fixed it, and I was like,
Wow.
this is incredible.
Wow.
So everybody's got a story, even if they don't think it's exciting. Everybody's got a story. If you're a woman in STEM, definitely sign up to be a STEM superstar because we need that. Other ways people can help is I'm sure lots of people want to get their girls to do something good in STEM during the summer. So signing up for the STEM Academy would be incredible. I'm signing up my daughter. She just turned 4, so she is now qualified to be there. And the reason why they start so young is because as early as 5 or 6 years old, girls say it's not for me.
Wow.
It's sad, very sad.
Wow.
And so, yeah, my daughter said, one day she said, computers are for boys. And I was like, I'm like, do you know what I do for work? So that's an example of how young they start to come up with these patterns in the world around them.
It's interesting that how that mindset starts so early.
Yeah, it's super sad, very very sad. Yeah, and it's not anything like you think you are impressing on your kids a certain value
Yeah.
and certain things, but they're also hearing it from everywhere, just subliminally, whatever.
Right. Right. And it's so cool at 4 years old. At 4 years old, these girls can get started.
Yeah, yeah, and it's incredible what they learn. It really is incredible what they learn and pick up and internalize at young ages like that.
How are they matching the girls with individuals?
So it's not a one-on-one thing.
Oh, it's not one-on-one.
No, no, no. It's in the mornings. The STEM Superstar talks to all the girls.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They all hear the same thing. The girls who are 4 years old and the 12-year-olds. And then when they go into the smaller classrooms, then they're separated by age, so that the girls actually get an activity that makes sense for them, and they learn what they need to learn.
Gotcha. There's so much variety in STEM, and not everybody wants to get into coding. What are some different opportunities for girls who maybe are interested in this, but maybe they don't feel like they want to get into the coding aspect of it?
So there's so many things. Science, doctors. There's. Are you saying like computers?
Yeah, I think sometimes with these some of these boot camps that are very popular, like they're all based around coding. And sometimes when you see a STEM program, kids maybe feel like, oh, that's not for me because I'm not into coding.
Yeah, no. In project scientist, it's not all about coding. It's every facet of it. And so a doctor is something that they learn about. They learn about all kinds of things. I remember one girl came home and she was learning about stem cells, and her grandma was going through cell because she had cancer, and so it comes home to a lot of the girls in different ways what part of STEM they care about. So just coding is 1 week in the 6 weeks, and they're not just sitting in front of a computer coding. They're doing hands-on things like makey, or where you have like a banana and you can play.
Oh yeah.
That kind of thing. So
Yeah.
They make it so fun that it's science, like all of it is going to be interesting to her in whatever way, like whatever facet it is. And since she's learning it with a bunch of girls, it's going to be girly. Somehow it'll end up being the right thing for the girl. And it's incredible the different things that you learn from each of the STEM superstars. So even though we're not talking about archaeology, we could have a STEM archaeologist come and talk about what she does. And so I love that it's not just one thing, that they try to expose the girls to so many different facets of STEM.
Jenny, before we go, I just love just your passion for STEM, but also how you're constantly giving back to the community. I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. And I'm like, I don't know how you're doing everything you do. You're raising a family. Um, you're a leader at Google. You're chairman of the board for Project Scientist, and then you're doing other things to mentor kids. And I just love how you're giving back constantly. And a lot of people feel that I'm already too busy as it is. I don't have time to do a separate thing. Can you give some encouragement for those who um, are kind of like looking at you and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Jenny's doing all those things, to encourage them to um, think outside of what they're currently doing, their day job, their family life, to actually give back to the community?
I think a lot of it is some of my interests. So if I'm interested in, or my needs. So I started a women's group at work because I wanted to hang out with women, and my team didn't have a lot of women, and so I started it kind of for my own needs. But then after I got my needs met, I felt like, okay, who's the next person who I can put in that spot so that she can run this program? Same thing with moms. When I became a new mom, I said I need as much help as possible, especially from women at work who have been through the same struggles that I'm going through. How do I do that? So I got together a group of moms and I made it very low effort. So all we did is we went to lunch. So all I had to do was put in calendar invite, and that's all I had to do.
Hmm.
And so I made it super easy for me. I started a group with called Google Greet because I wanted to meet. I was already saying hi to the new people that come to the office. I was already doing that anyways. So I made it into a thing. When the opportunity came around, I was like, I'm doing this already. And when they said, you need to do this and this and this and this, I said, I can't, but I will have a lunch once a month. And so we have a lunch once a month, and that's how we do it. And after I was done doing it, I kind of felt like it was a program that was successful enough that could run on its own. I had somebody else take it over. And so different ways where you can start something and allow other people to grow into it and make it keep it going, that would be the best way to do it, I think. And when you look at all the different things that I've done, I didn't do them all in one day. And so don't expect yourself to do everything all at the same time. Start one thing, focus on that, do well in that, and then either keep it going at low effort or give it to somebody else who can run it well. So that's kind of my advice. I also feel like you have to say no to lots of things. So you have to learn to do that and pick the things that are the most important to you and say yes to.
Yeah, just one last question. This has been coming up a lot right now during COVID. It's really, really hard for recent graduates to get jobs. Applying is really, really hard. A lot of companies have hiring freezes, and it's just a very, very difficult time for graduates. I was wondering if you can give some advice for those who are just finishing college or they were looking forward to getting their first job, and there's just not enough jobs right now that are out there. It's hard for them to interview. I'm just kind of curious what advice you'd share with those people.
Uh, interview, send your resume out to a lot of places. As I was graduating, it was the .com bubble burst, so there weren't a lot of jobs. But because I had experience for those 5 years, even though it took me longer at school, I had a job. But for the people that don't have a job, hit up your network, see what jobs there are. When I was graduating, they were telling us if you apply to 10 companies, you'll hear back just from them. So do not be afraid to send out your resume to a lot of companies and write good cover letters and all of that stuff. And at the same time, try to there's try different things. If you're not working and you just have time and you're not interviewing and you're trying really hard, all of that, start projects. Start a project that can help somebody. Start a project that will benefit somebody. Write an app that will help somebody do something. See if your dad needs something. See if your grandpa, your friend, your kids, your whoever it is. Try to find a need out there and build something for them. One other unconventional piece of advice, I remember seeing somebody on their resume, they said they had gotten an unpaid internship at a company. And I was like, wait, you said to the company, I would like to work for you for no money? He said, yeah, I was looking for such a long time, years had gone by, and he was like, I needed experience. So that's what I did. And so once he did that, then he had experience on his resume, and then go on from there. So if you need to live with your parents, do that, but don't sit idle. Do stuff, and especially for people that it'll make a difference to. If they use your product, when you put that on your resume, that's impact that you've had. So don't belittle that your church has a website that they need to have updated. Don't see a need around you and say, no, but I need a job. You can use those times where you don't have a job, you're not doing anything else other than apply. Yes, do all of that. But at the same time, see if there's a need that you can, because it'll brush up your coding, it'll brush up on whatever it is that you're doing. So don't be idle.
I love that. And in the beginning of the interview, you talked about how much you polished your resume. You kept updating your resume. And you just mentioned about the importance of just sending out lots of resumes. Any tips for those who are, they're just graduating, they're creating their first resume, they want to stand out? Any like good tips you can give them for how to stand out on their resume? Or mistakes to avoid?
Yeah, don't put a lot of performed this, performed that. Like, don't use the same verbs. Do different verbs. Dig into what you actually did in that job. There's a lot of times where you say manage something. What does that mean? Like, did you do the job and you managed it? Did you, be specific with what you mean about it? Have other people review it for you. If they don't have a job for you, can you ask me to review my resume? So if you ask your dad's friend, can you look at my resume? Do you have a job in your company? If not, see if they can review your resume and then use that feedback that you get from them.
Awesome. Jennie, thank you so much for being on Data Talk. For those that want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
LinkedIn. That is the best way.
Jennie, thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Data Talk. We share out new episodes every single week, and you can find the full catalog of previous episodes as well as YouTube videos by going to the Experian news blog. The URL is just experian.com/datatalk. And as always, we love hearing from our community. So if you have any comments or suggestions for future shows, please reach out. You can find us on Twitter at Experian Data Lab, or you can always reach out to me directly. My email is michael.delgado@experian.com. Take care, and we'll chat next week.